Hey everybody, welcome to Hash It Out. I'm RJ, your host, and in this episode, I'll be talking to Chris Ball about how to comprehensively include social equity in cannabis policy reform. We'll also talk about the distinction between being heard and being listened to, his personal journey from being federally indicted for cannabis to running a successful social equity licensed cannabis company, and more. Without further ado, let's hash it out. My guest today is the CEO and founder of the Los Angeles, California-based cannabis company Ball Family Farms. Welcome to the show, Chris Ball. How's it going, my man?
I'm good, bro. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
You know what? We're putting one foot in front of the other. We're getting shit done. That's what's up. We're thriving and surviving.
Man, that's my word. That's my word, thriving. People ask me how I'm
yes.
all the time. I say, man, I'm thriving, trying to save the world.
I love that.
Trying to save the world
yes.
1 pound of weed at a time. So let's go.
I love that. That's what's up. That's a good mission statement. Statement. How's your year been going so far, man? We're almost halfway through March. How's it been for you?
Yeah, 2021, man, has started off really, really well for us. We just closed escrow on 75 acres over in Oklahoma. So our expansion, becoming a multi-state operator, is officially underway. We took over the second 20,000 square feet of our 40,000 square feet in our facility here in Gardena. So for the first, since 2018, we've only been operating out of 20,000 square feet. So we was able to take over our second 20,000 square feet and expand in Los Angeles, and then closing escrow and signing a deal over in Oklahoma. So we are doing very well. We are thriving over at BFF right now.
Yeah, that's the key word of the day, man. I love to hear that. Now, how long ago was the company founded, Ball Family?
Company was founded in, officially or unofficially? Which one?
We'll start with unofficially.
Unofficially, Ball Family Farms has been going since, I would say, 2014.
Oh, okay.
2014.
Okay.
And that's unofficially. Officially, it started in 2018.
Got you.
So 2014, like we were all black market and Prop 64, pre-ICOs. Yeah. And then in 2018, I got my social equity license. I was granted the social equity license, and then officially Ball Family Farms, the company, was formed and started. So we then had a tax ID number.
Got you. Okay, so now you're legit. Yeah. That's what's up. Now, you mentioned that Ball Family Farms is a social equity licensed premium cannabis company. You have strains that you offer, like Show Nuff and Daniel LaRusso and Bonsai. Yeah, which is that show? Oh, you got props.
Yeah,
he came through with the props and the ones that I just mentioned too. What are the chances?
Only two sitting here, ironically. Sheesh. So good shit.
That's thriving right there. That's what's up.
We thrive.
So just tell me more about, what sets Ball Family of Farms apart as a cannabis company to you.
You know what, man? I honestly think what sets us apart is just the authenticity of what we're doing. I'm a street guy, turn legit. So I started selling weed out of my backpack at 16 years old. And so, for me, when I came into the space, at 16 for really, stupid reasons, as a kid, just wanting to buy Jordans and buy tennis shoes and, buy fresh white T-shirts and shit like that. Just watching, the neighborhood drug guy be the man. And as I got older, and my parents couldn't afford to send me through school, it was something that I had picked up in my early years that I felt like I could use it. I could use the trade to put myself through junior college, which is what I did, until I got my scholarship to go to Berkeley and play football. So for me, what we're doing at Ball Family Farms, just being a guy who's been in the space for so long and who has suffered every kind of loss or, been incarcerated or been robbed or, all those things, for a guy who has kind of come up through that throughout my life. I think what sets us apart is that because I have all of this experience and I've done every single thing there is to do in the cannabis space, and I've touched every single maybe job there is to touch in the cannabis space. I understand my culture and I understand this business just based off of pure, experience. And I think that's one of the things that set us apart. We're not the only company in the space that thrive off of these things. There are other companies in the space that do that, but I think for us specifically, that's one of the things that sets us apart, is that I am the CEO of the company, has actually been through everything in the space and understands the space back and forth.
That's so important. As we see like the cannabis industry become more and more, commercialized, just as places across the nation and across the world sort of embrace the inevitability that, eventually, we don't know how long it'll take, but eventually we'll get to that place where it is federally legal for everyone, at least in this country. So as that commercialization picks up, it's so important, like you mentioned, to have those people who were in on it before any of this, and make sure that they're included in the new legal market, and make sure that they are prioritized when it comes to business licenses and things like that.
Yeah, not only, man, is that so important, because it is important for people who have been doing this for the past 20, 30 years, to have an opportunity to participate in this now legal space. But it's those people who are going to keep the space pure and who are going to keep the integrity of the space, because as it gets more commercialized, these people are coming in, these culture vultures is what we like to call them. They come into the space and they water down the space because they're just trying to make a buck. Right. It's the green rush. Right. Everybody wants to come in and figure out how they can get their stake in it, how they can make some money in it. And in doing that, they create all of these shortcuts and processes and products that aren't true to the culture. They are put together just to make fast money. And that's not what cannabis is all about. Yes. Cannabis is about patience. It's about time. If you're a grower, for a fact, it's about patience. I mean, it takes to 12 weeks just to get one harvest out. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. So it's important for guys like myself to stay in the space, because we have to keep the integrity of the space and not let the medicine turn into just some commercial product that doesn't work anymore.
That's such a good point. I'm so glad you bring that up too, because speaking more about, the commercialization of cannabis, just the very nature of commercialization tends to take things away from the natural process from which they began, almost to the point where like commercialized cannabis cultivation or production, it's done almost sometimes like in a lab process, away from like the earth pace that it all started at. So I'm so glad that you bring up the point that, it's important for those who, have invested in this willingly or unwillingly before all of the waves of legalization happened. They're really the foundation for keeping, like you said, the culture vultures away and keeping the purity of the cannabis community alive.
Sure, bro.
Which is something that you're certainly doing at Ball Family Farms. Your company is a vertically integrated, minority-owned, social equity commercial cannabis facility. I understand that in September of 2020, you partnered with former NBA star Al Harrington, which is dope, just in and of itself, and his cannabis brand Viola. Yes, you were working toward more equitable spaces for minorities in the cannabis industry. Viola and Ball Family Farms donated $1 of each sale of rain to Root and Rebound, and that's to help those formerly convicted of nonviolent cannabis crimes be given a second chance at entering the legal cannabis industry. So what has that been like for you, man? For someone who, like you said, you got your introduction into cannabis at age 16, well before legalization. What is it like for you now to be in that position and to have this platform to be able to give back to your former 16-year-old self?
Man, just right when you just said that, I got chills, all over my body, because it's literally
such an amazing story.
A dream. Yeah. It's a dream come true, but a dream well surpassed the dream. What's happening right now. I couldn't have wrote this. If someone would have asked me, when I first went and got my license, or when I was first granted my social equity license, how do you see this ending? Like, what's your dream for this? I would have just said, I just want to be able to see my name on a jar and be able to employ my family, give my family and friends jobs, and kind of be able to keep things in the family and be able to sell weed legally because I love it so much. For me to be in a position to where I am now, to have been able to partner with Al, who was like an idol. When I came into the space, he was definitely the largest and the most notable Black face in the cannabis industry, right? So I kind of looked to him and was like, if I can just do it like him, I'll be able to take care of my family. So for a year later, for 2 years later, for me to be actually partnering with him, and for us to have created a strain together, and for us to have, given all this money back to Roots and Rebounds, and for us to have, for it to hit during Black Lives Matter, and us to be able to push the culture forward with, for us to be able to set the example of 2 Black African-American CEOs and entrepreneurs being able to come together and push the culture forward, for Reign to get nominated as one of the top 20 strains to smoke in 2020. I don't even know, I can't even put into words, how it feels, for me to even be sitting here talking to you and telling my story, which I've done, 100 times now because of all the press and because of all the attention.
Right.
It's definitely succeeded my expectations, to say the least. And at this point now, it feels really amazing, I feel vindicated almost, because I was federally indicted for this back in 2010. I was thrown in federal prison for this. And to now be able to, scream from the rooftops that I grow cannabis for a living. And not only that, but I represent, social equity, and I represent people of color, and I'm having success in the space through a pandemic. And I've employed, my brother, my cousin, my sister, I've friends who I've kind of grown up with. It's one of the most amazing feelings in the world. Like, I actually get up every morning and I'm excited to go to work. I'm excited to come up with more strains. I'm excited to bring Ball Family Farms to different people in different states. I'm excited to create more opportunities for 16-year-old Chris Balls who exist today, who want to come into the space. Or, we get DMs from kids graduating from college who want to, botany grads who want to come into the space because they just follow the brand and they love our product. So it's really a dream come true, man. It's like I said, it's exceeded way more than what I thought it would be.
That's so dope, man. What would you tell your 16-year-old self if you were able to see, if your 16-year-old self were to see you thriving today? If the two of you could interact, what would you tell your 16-year-old self?
I would tell my 16-year-old self to do exactly what you're gonna do. I wouldn't steer him any other direction than the direction that he was already going, because the direction my 16-year-old self was going landed me here today. So I wouldn't veer him off the road at all. I'd say do exactly.
You're right. For sure. That's just the same with me. Like, if I could go back in time and see my 16-year-old self, I'd probably just I wouldn't interact with him. I don't think. I just probably watch. Yeah, because I don't want to mess up the timeline.
You know what? I feel bad. I feel some shit. I feel a little bad because I'm like, damn, I know what's coming for you. But I'm in such a great place today that I'm like, if I deter him anyway, you seen Back to the Future Part 2 when Marty and Nick Doc went and messed with and they ended up in an alternate 1985. I wouldn't want to say shit. I'd just be like, right. Just do what you're gonna do. Leave the guy alone. Don't talk to him.
I feel that. Yeah. I totally feel that. Like it. It's a bummer that you had to go through what you had to go through to get where you are now. But I mean, it's all the more reason to be grateful. You know what I mean? For where you are.
I wouldn't change a second, bro. I wouldn't. Yeah. Maybe if I was going to change something, maybe it would be things with girls in my personal life or something. So maybe I wouldn't have been so mean to. Maybe not done some.
Oh man.
Business wise, but straight up, don't change nothing.
16-year-old me could have definitely used help with the girls. That's something. Now you're talking.
For sure.
Man, I want to ask you, what is your assessment on the current state of the discussion of social equity and cannabis reform? Because the two, very much in my opinion, need to be linked, and they need to be in the same conversation if we're going to talk about implementing cannabis reform in a fair and equitable way.
So,
So in what ways have you seen progress, and in what ways do you still see work that needs to be done?
well, the ways that I see progress is that more states are now starting to adopt the social equity program. You know, it's kind of got before Oakland was the first one to do it. And then LA followed, you know, Los Angeles followed right after that. I don't think it wasn't anywhere else before, you know, Oakland and Los Angeles to my knowledge. And now, you know, you got it in DC. I think you're getting it in Jersey. You know, New York is up. You know, they're going through some things right now. So in the ways that it's made progress, I think, you know, more states are starting to understand what it means and want to participate, you know, and give some of these people who have been disenfranchised an opportunity, you know, to participate in the space because it's only right. The way I think that it still needs work is, you know, where do I begin? You know, where do I begin?
Right.
It's
Right.
a great process in theory. It's a great idea, but it's still very broken and it needs a lot of work. The best way for me to explain it is that, you know, when I got my football scholarship to Berkeley, had Berkeley just admitted me to the school, right, and just paid my tuition, but didn't give me a place to live, you know, didn't give me tutors, didn't give me access, didn't give me priority registration, didn't, you know, make sure I had a scholarship check so I wouldn't have to go get a job, you know, after school, after my classes, and I could just go to football practice. Had they done all those things and provided me with those resources, I would have flunked out of school. There's no way I would have made it, especially being an inner city kid, you know, being the first one in my family to go to college and going off into a world that was culture shock, you know? But because they gave me all of those resources, because they gave me, you know, a chaperone when I first got to school, my first year, and showed me, hey, here's the library, here's the registration line, here's how you do this, here are your tutors for all of your first round of classes, and they helped me through. I was able to have some success, and I was able to graduate. So the social equity program is right now, all they're doing is just giving these applicants a license. They're granting them a license. There's no financial aid for them. There's no mentorship program for them. You know, there's nobody to show them how to go down to the city and get their MEPs. There's nobody to go, you know, to show them how to apply for a power upgrade. There's no kind of governmental grant to give. If there's social equity, you're social equity for one or two reasons. You make a less than $45,000 a year, so you have to qualify financially, or you've been incarcerated, you know, or you have some sort of drug conviction, right? Or you live in a disenfranchised area, zip code. So you don't got no money, or otherwise you wouldn't be social equity, right? So they don't even offer any kind of grants to these applicants. You know, the grants are coming from other people who have licenses that are having success in the business, maybe other people of color businesses, and they're offering grants to help social equity people. But the city and the state ain't giving you nothing. They're not even giving, you know, they're not even coming at guys like myself who are having great success and saying, hey, we'll give you a tax break if you incubate another social equity applicant. You know, they're not even enticing us that way, you know, so, and there's no mentorship program. You know what I mean? There's nobody to grab these applicants by the hand and say, here, this is the way. Here's how you get this done. So, you know, even for me, when I first got my license, me and my brother went down to the city to try to apply for a power upgrade and we sat down there for about 4 hours or chasing our tails around because we had no idea what we were doing. We sat in 2 or 3 lines, you know, that lasted an hour each and wind up coming out of there with nothing. So I wind up calling one of my general contractors who would help me build my illegal grows and asked him, hey man, what is a electrical permit? I need to go get an electrical permit. And he said, oh, you got to do this and do that. And I said, can you help me do this? He said, I'm going to give you somebody's number. And he ironically gave me the number to a woman by the name of Ebony Anderson, who is now the COO of my company, because
Wow.
She worked for the city. You know what I mean? And so when I called her, we hit it off and she got me on the right path. So much so that I asked her, can you just come work? Can I give you a percentage of my company and you just come be on my staff full time so I never have to run into this problem again? And can you teach me this? And she said, yes. But if you don't have that, you know, I had the sense enough to go do that because I had I had a college degree. I had some sort of higher learning. Most of the social equity applicants do not. You know, most of them probably haven't graduated from high school, you know, so they need somebody. All they know is where they're from. They know the culture of where they're from. They know weed for sure because they've grown up.
Sure.
They probably know business because they've been selling some sort of drug their entire life. That's how they got the conviction. But they don't know all of the other stuff that comes along with it to get to transition them from the black market to the legal framework. And that's where they need assistance. And that's where the city and the state are failing them.
And it seems as if the city and the state, and then of course the federal government also sort of don't have as much of a grasp as would be ideal when it comes to implementing social equity. Because like you said, a lot of the times the social equity part of the legislation can sometimes simply just be like, oh, well, we'll just prioritize minorities with licenses. We'll give them a license, but like you still need help with all the steps.
We
right?
did our part. That it's like affirmative action. All right, here, got a license. We did our part. We gave you a shot, but if you make it, make it. If you don't, you don't. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit.
So for you then, what would be the way? Because, you know, you hear over the course of the years, you hear companies, we're introducing a diversity team. And then the diversity team is like all white guys and then like an Indian guy. Or like, you know what I mean? Or like all white guys and then like a white woman and a black woman. You know what I mean? Like, or you see, you know, the phrase like, oh, you are heard is a very common phrase. But I've been reflecting lately on the difference between someone saying you are heard and someone saying you are listened to, because to me there's a very fine distinction between being heard and being listened to.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
So for you hear me.
Exactly. Like you can hear me talking, but are you listening to my words? Are you listening to what the people are actually saying?
Right.
So for you, how do we make sure that the topics that you're discussing when it comes to like fully comprehensively implementing social equity, how do we make sure that those are not forgotten?
Yeah, I think, you know, if I were working for the city or the state, you know, I would obviously, you know, set this whole thing up how, you know, a college sets up onboarding a freshman into school.
Okay.
Right. From an athletic standpoint, or maybe even from, you know, just somebody you give a scholarship to. It could be an athletic scholarship. It could be an academic scholarship. I would go, you know, I would go down there. I know how this is done because I've gone through it. Right. So if I was working for the city or state, I'd say, hey, look, let's go to 10 colleges and let's study how they onboard their scholarship athletes, their full scholarship athletes. And let's try to mimic this. Let's try to bring this to the social equity world. And then what I would do is I would make sure all the dispensaries in my state, you know, had a certain number of social equity brands that they had to carry in the store. They had to give them shelf space. Whether it's 25% of your shelf space, you know, it don't got to be, you know, all of it, because let's be honest, you know, every brand may not be good. Every social equity brand may not be good. And so at the end of the day, we want to give you an opportunity, but we still want to keep the integrity of the culture and of the flower and of the products, right? So here's your shot, but you better put in your 10,000 hours and really study and know what you're doing or figure out what you're doing so that you can put the best medicine and the best product out on the shelves. But I would definitely implement those things. And then as far as, you know, if they're not going to do any of those things, I mean, these are ways that they could help, right? They need to get some money from somewhere. They need to allocate some money to social equity applicants. Period, point blank. And not just $5,000, $10,000. No, my licensing fees were $36,000 alone just to pay for my fees, right? I am well over $1.5 million to get my brand off the ground.
Whew.
And that's
Yeah.
a 20,000 square foot facility. Now, my facility could be considered large, right? So even if, let's say I had a 5,000 square foot facility, 10,000 square foot facility, and you do the math, well, it still would have cost me, in the range of $250,000, $300,000 to get the business moving. You know what I'm saying? To get it going. I paid somewhere around $60,000, $70,000 just in permitting alone. We had $100K already. I ain't got no flour. I don't got no employee, nothing. All I got is a licensing fees and permits. Right? So
Damn.
They need to come up with some money. They need to come up with some scholarship money. This is what is going to help these people get into business. Give them the loan, and then have them pay back the loan. We need a bank. Can't give a loan without a bank. How are we supposed to do business without a bank? Right? We need a bank. Luckily for guys like me, like I said, I'm a black market guy. I had a bunch of cash laying around in shoeboxes, that I had accumulated over the years. So when it came time for those fees, I was able to just go into one of my shoeboxes and go pay my fees. But everybody don't have that. That's not the case for everybody. So it's these are the kind of things that will help. I know us, some of us social equity applicants and not just social equity applicants who are doing it and doing it right, but just some of the people in the space that are from the culture, the real brands, right? The brands that are here for the right reasons. We are all creating an alliance together, that we are going to try to get together and help other social equity applicants. We're going to put our resources together and help other social equity applicants. And we are a bunch of, operators with cultivation licenses, distro licenses, retail locations, all of those type things. So if we get us all together, then we kind of can create our own, Black Wall Street, and not just black, but black, brown, yellow, POC, person of color. Social equity applicant, so that we have our own marketplace, so that we don't have to worry about, we can kind of take care of one another. You're a cultivator, you're a distributor, and you're a retail location. Well, here now we're all going to throw our resources in together, create great, wonderful products, and have our own marketplace to send our consumers to go shop. And when you go shop at those places, you're helping a person of color.
I love that. Yeah. It really all just, especially when it comes to cannabis, it really all just always comes down to community, doesn't it?
That's it.
And really just sticking together and
it's a communal product.
Lifting each other up.
That's
It's a communal product.
That's what it does.
Brought people together for centuries from all walks of life. And it continues to do that.
And it's a shame, man, because they're trying to reinvent the wheel on this thing. For what? You don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's been around for centuries, like we said. Just go get guys who have been having success at it. And most of those guys are in prison, for nonviolent crimes. Get them out, make them a consultant, or give them some equity in your company and just ask their advice. I was federally indicted because I was doing it successfully. The feds don't come if you're doing it and you're no good at it. Right? The state police do that. They catch you being sloppy. The federal government comes and gets you when they say, okay, you've crossed the $1 million mark and we're not getting our taxes, and now we got to lock you up. So that's all you really got to do. It ain't rocket science. Guys with no education that live up in the mountains have run this business and made it go round. You do not need a degree to do this.
Yes.
You do not. Just get the right guy. That's it.
Yeah, just go find the right guys. Yeah.
That's it. Real simple. It's real simple.
Yeah. You're so right. You're so right, man. And I thank you so much for sharing all of this great insight into all the great work that you're doing with social equity in particular in the cannabis industry. Like I said before we started recording, like it's such an important topic to me personally that I certainly never want to see forgotten when it comes to talking about cannabis policy reform and legalization and the future of the industry.
Absolutely.
And so I thank you so much for the work that you're doing. What are you looking forward to for the rest of the year, for 2021?
Yeah, like I said, the big thing is just, getting this expansion going over in Oklahoma. I'm not going to lie, man. I'm the first kid in my family, in the history of my family to be a landowner. So that was a huge thing for me. But we are just so looking forward to expanding Ball Family Farms over into Oklahoma and giving those people on that side of the globe an opportunity, to partake in our products and expand our footprint. We have a docuseries that's being shopped right now. That's going to come out. We're in talks with the E channel. We're in talks with Netflix. We're in talks with Hulu that are going to have our documentary, the story of Ball Family Farms and how we got started and the trials and tribulations and how we were able to navigate social equity and where we are today and where we're going in the future. So we're super excited about that. A couple collaborations, coming up, with Nipsey Hussle's family. We got 2 strains that we're actively pheno hunting for called Crenshaw and Slauson. And then we've also been in talks with Jay-Z's company Monogram, to do a collaboration with them as well. So, all exciting things, man. 2021 is packed with exciting things and just, we got a real special treat coming out with our Mylar bags. We've been jars. We've been having our apes in jars for the past 2 years, but we're about to switch to Mylar bags. And there's a special thing happening with the bags that I'm finishing up right now. So just stuff, man, to keep the consumers excited, innovative stuff in the space to keep every cannabis user excited and excited about our community and culture, man.
Man, I'm so stoked to hear that. Please keep up the good work, Chris. And thank you so much again for the great work that you're doing and for your time and being willing to share your perspective and your journey with me. I really appreciate it. I certainly wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
Please continue to thrive out there. All the best of luck with your expansion as well. And hopefully in the future, we can rehash it out for an episode 2, maybe in person sometime.
Absolutely, man. Let's rehash it out a year from now and just talk about the progress. And thanks for hearing me.
Let's do it.
Thanks for not listening, but I mean, thanks for listening and not just hearing and allowing me to tell my story, brother. I appreciate you.
I got you, man. I wish you nothing but the best. Please continue to stay safe and be well. And we'll talk again soon.
All right, my brother. Peace.
My thanks again to Chris Ball for joining me. If you are a member of the cannabis community and have a story you want to share with us, we would love to hear from you. You can reach the show at HashitOut at TRICHOMES.com. You can help others find the show by taking a moment to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. You can also join the discussion with industry insiders and get your voice heard by joining the community at TRICHOMES.com and following us on all social media. HashitOut is produced by David Fortin and presented by TRICHOMES.com. I'm your host, RJ Balde, and I'll catch you next time.